And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with Mike Vincent.
Okay, for our spirit cards, we have an ally called the Riddermark's Finest. Has a cost of 2 and has 1 willpower, 1 attack, 0 defense, and 2 hit points. It is a creature and it is Rohan. Action, exhaust and discard the Riddermark's Finest to place 2 progress tokens on any location. So this is a decent ally. It has the Rohan trait, so it's worth considering that this will benefit from any Rohan synergies. And I think Rohan is something we can look to be further developed in the new expansions coming out fairly soon here. Pretty useless once it's on the table with only 1 willpower and 1 attack. Obviously could be used as a chump blocker with 0 defense and 2 hit points, but there certainly are quests where there's lots of locations that can pile up in the staging area rather quickly, some with really nasty travel effects. And so being able to discard a pretty cheap card like Riddermark's Finest at a cost of 2 and place 2 progress tokens on any location in the staging area. So this is a card that combos well with cards like Asphalloth or the Northern Tracker, who also allow you to place progress tokens directly onto locations. And so I think in the right quest, I always look to include the Riddermark's Finest, as certain ones tend to include lots of locations or nasty locations with pretty devastating travel effects. So Riddermark's Finest is an okay card. If you're planning on playing a Rohan deck, then I think this is worth including, or if you know you're going to be on a quest with some brutal but sometimes maybe cheap locations which you can quest through rather quickly. So being able to discard the Riddermark's Finest to potentially clear 5/4 threat from the staging area and prevent you from having to travel somewhere brutal, I think makes it a good card in the right situation. So there's the Riddermark's Finest. So the event card for this pack for Spirit is Ride to Ruin. Has a cost of 1 and reads action, discard a Rohan ally to choose the location and place 3 progress tokens on that location. So I don't have a whole lot of extra things to say about this card, as I just discussed the Riddermark's Finest, which has a very similar ability. However, in this case, for a cost of 1, we can place 3 progress tokens on a location instead of 2. So again, a card that combos well with the Northern Tracker and Asphalloth, and I think there's a lot of allies in Spirit which are cheap, which could be worthy candidates for sacrifice to allow you to place 3 progress tokens. There are lots of locations which have 3 progress that would have to be placed on it to get rid of it. Again, if you've got a location with some nasty travel effects, it's a good way to take it out of the staging area, or if you need to reduce the threat in the staging area. We know some locations can have 4, 5, or 6 threat, which is quite a bit. So sacrificing a lowly ally or a chump blocker to get 3 progress directly onto a location, I think is certainly worth the cost of 1. So I do like Ride to Ruin, and I think it's a great card if you're in a quest with lots of locations. Okay, so for lore, we have a very good ally, Gildor Inglorian. So Gildor Inglorian is a unique ally with a cost of 5. Yes, very staggering and very expensive, and has 3 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, and 3 hit points. Gildor Inglorian is Noldor and reads action, exhaust Gildor Inglorian to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Switch one of those cards with a card from your hand, then return the 3 cards to the top of your deck in any order. So there's no doubt that Gildor Inglorian is a very good ally. The only thing holding Gildor Inglorian back, of course, is the cost of 5. So if you're playing perhaps a lore leadership deck with lots of extra resource generation, then that makes Gildor Inglorian much more easy to bring to the table. Or if you've been saving up allies and are saving up resources and you just need a powerful ally on the table to help you, I think at least Gildor Inglorian's stats and ability justify the cost of 5. So a great quester with 3 willpower, and very versatile in combat as well with 3 defense and 2 attack. Particularly for defense though, with 3 attack and 3 defense, that makes Gildor Inglorian a much better defender than many heroes in this game. Now, the ability to look at the top cards of your deck, being able to go 3 down and potentially take one of those and swap it for something in your hand is a very nice ability, especially as you're able to put those cards back in any order. So it allows you to scry the top 3 cards of your deck, and potentially hunt for a card that could be useful. So if there's a few cards that you've put in your deck that really are essential to making your deck work, then including Gildor and Glorian and having him go through your cards a little quicker is certainly one way to make a deck a bit more effective if there's a key card that you really need to dig for. So Gildor and Glorian, a really good ally, certainly a bit prohibitive with a cost of 5, but if you can get him on the table, he's certainly going to have a significant impact, whether he's questing, defending, or whether you're using his ability. So a great ally, Gildor and Glorian. So now we're going to take a look at our last lore card for this pack, and this is Gildor's Council. Has a cost of 3, is an event, and reads, play during the quest phase before characters are committed to the quest. Action, reveal one less card from the encounter deck this phase to a minimum of 1. So this is a great card, and certainly one that you're going to want to take a look at if you are tackling some of the harder quests in this game. Whether you have the Heirs of Numenor expansion, whether you're playing a Nightmare deck, or any deck that involves having Smaug, then being able to only draw one encounter card could be a lifesaver. That's one less nasty enemy or brutal location or just really mean treachery card that you're going to have to worry about in a turn, which again is going to give you then another turn to play resources, get guys out onto the table, get extra allies, or whatever you need to do. Now the only drawback for this card, of course, is you would have to be playing multiplayer to make it worth your while. So seeing as you have to draw one card off the encounter deck for every player in the game, if you're playing solo, this one does say to a minimum of 1. So this card would really have no effect if you're playing solo. So if you're playing multiplayer, however, and you're just taking on one of those nasty Heirs of Numenor encounter decks, or if you're playing one of the new Nightmare decks, then Gildor's Council is certainly a card you're going to want to consider bringing along if you are playing. So our neutral card for this pack is the Song of Travel. It's an attachment and a song, has a cost of 1 and reads, attached to a hero. Attached hero gains the spirit resource icon. So much like the other cards that are very similar to this one we've looked at in the last few packs, this just again allows you, if you are playing a multi-sphere deck, allows you to share the resources and potentially start to generate some resources for the spirit sphere. So if you're playing a multi-sphere deck and you want to have spirit, then Song of Travel would certainly be something to consider including. So not much to say about Song of Travel other than it is certainly a useful card if you're playing a multi-sphere deck with spirit cards. So there you have all the player cards for this adventure pack. So again, in tradition, for the last couple of packs, I'd like to take a look at my top 3. So in my opinion, the 3 best cards from this pack would be Gildor and Glorian, Gildor's Council, and Bran, Son of Bane. I think Gildor and Glorian is a no-brainer, just a really powerful ally, very well-rounded, a great defender, a great quester, and a really cool ability. Gildor's Council, I hate pulling cards off the encounter deck in some of those really nasty encounters, so just being able to pull 1 instead of 2 is fantastic. And yes, I may be in the minority here. I do know lots of people love to hate on Bran, Son of Bane, but I have had success with him in the past. I find making a range deck, if you have Legolas, Bard the Bowman, and Bran, Son of Bane, is just a great combo if you want to deal lots of range damage. And I think his ability is pretty useful in that you can trigger other characters who can have special effects, and with an attack of 3 and a willpower of 2 and a defense of 2, I think his stats are solid, and I think he's a good hero. So there you have. As a buyer's guide, I don't think there's anything in here that's absolutely essential. I do think if you like to play lore, these are 2 very good lore cards, and I think if you're interested in tactics and you like to do range damage, if you enjoy playing heroes like Legolas, then Bran, Son of Bane I think is someone to consider. Other than that though, unless you're seriously interested in developing all of the Eagle synergies, then I think most of the cards in this pack you can certainly take a pass on. So if you don't have a whole lot of cash to drop in this game and you want to be really selective and just want the very best, then I think potentially this is a pack you could pass on. But Gildor and Glorian, a great ally. Bran, Son of Bane I think is a solid hero, and Gildor's Council, a nice card, and we have the Eagle cards as well if you're trying to collect those Eagle synergies. Alright, so that concludes our look at this adventure pack, and do stay tuned for next week when we get to take a look at the penultimate adventure pack, in the Shadows of Mirkwood cycle. This week in the comments, I would be curious to hear your opinions on Bran, Son of Bane. So if you have this card and you've played with him, let me know if I'm right in liking him and thinking he's a good hero, or if you think I'm dead wrong and you think he's terrible. I would be curious to hear people's opinions on that one. All right, so have a great week, and we will see you soon.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.